Hi friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. We hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so fucking much from the bottom of our hearts for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy and I am the host of the show. And today, y'all, we are on episode 114, Operation Mind. You guessed it. It's a new month. It's a new topic. We are switching from cults or not, taking a little break of that darkness. Holy shit. And now we're switching over to the darkness in the government. Just kidding, kind of. Not really. So this month, guys, we're going to be talking about operations and projects that have been run by places like the CIA and the government and the FBI and the Navy. And this stuff is all on government websites. No conspiracies here, guys. This is straight up facts from websites and what we've gathered from it anyways. It's been so much fun, you guys. We've been loving this season. We hope you guys have been loving it as well. Having these, research type topics of things that we didn't know existed until now, and I think it's pretty important that we all know exist so we can kind of call these craziness out. Sprinkled in with the being real with talking to our real life friends, family members, community members, people that we look up to. It's just been a fucking great time. But before we get on the show with the babes, I'm going to remind you guys, if you can, like and subscribe and make sure you turn on those notification bells so you find out when we launch another episode. If you have time, leaving a review is so helpful for us. Sharing it with family and friends and tagging us on Facebook, Instagram, even on Pinterest really helps us, you guys. Getting the word out there, sharing your babes. And if you yourself have a story you want to bring, whether that's a topic that you want us to research, or if you want to have your own being real with, we are fucking here for it all the time. You just shoot us an email, DM us, however you need to get a hold of us, you let us know. We're fucking here for it. But without further ado, let's get on to the show and start talking about ways and operations that have been fucking with people's minds by the government. Yeah. Let's go. All right, babes, it's time to jump on the show. And in studio today, I have my two favorite babes, Dee and Hales. Hey, babes.
Hey.
So, new topic.
Yes.
New topic, new month. Who dis?
I'm excited for this month.
How are we feeling?
This is a good one. This is an interesting one.
Me too. And also, I get to say, because I asked, so the person that we said we were going to add to our crew, even though you guys will not see her, she's going to be our research. I feel so cool. We have a researcher.
Okay.
Will be my mom, Lisa. Yay, mama.
Yay,
Hey, Lisa. Yay. So for you guys that know, my mom is always looking at stuff. She's right into all of these topics, just like all of us. So it just was a no-brainer that, we got a lot of topics coming to you guys. We're all very busy individuals.
We appreciate those receipts.
A lot of eyes.
Yes.
On
a lot
topics,
of eyes.
So.
Yep. Extra eyes, and she gets way deeper than I think I had time to do. So it's just really cool. Now the content's there, and then us babes get to look through it, sort through it, and present it to you from what we understand. So thanks, Mama.
Yes. Thank you,
team's
Lisa.
expanding, guys. Now we're a team of 5.
exciting.
So
dude, that's
So
insane.
this one, guys,
Isn't
it 5? There's 5 of us.
We're no longer the newbies, Danielle.
I know.
No, Mama's the newbie now.
We'll have to think of an initiation for her.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes, we'll try and maybe get her up here the same time you guys come up or something.
For sure.
Or, maybe go to the island and I'll kind of bombard her down there.
I love it.
But yeah, I'm excited, and that's why I brought her on for this month. Cults were a bit not easier to find stuff, but it was a lot easier to find than some of these government projects and operations that we're going to get into, and I knew she had her
Some of the
hands,
links
like,
are from like the
this.
CIA website. Like I'd like to point
Yes.
out, like some of these links are
Yes.
like intense. I was like, okay.
And I like
Legit.
that we can relate to these kind of topics a little more. Like they hit home a little
Yes.
more and actually physically, mentally affect us.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's why I think it's just really, I liked how we've done this. It's like, okay, look at the cults and the mentality and the behaviors, okay, of that. And over the last couple of years, now we're going to look at what governments and these groups have done, knowingly admitted on their website, of things that they've done. And what else have they done?
Truthfully, if you wanted to argue, the government is like a large cult.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
That runs our every country. So this one is just
every single one.
And this one affects everyone. Like literally, we are all a part of a quote unquote cult of people. Like
yes,
we follow
of this
authority,
mind
right?
fuck.
So exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Some of these are crazy attack, too. Like it's insane. It is. It's really,
and you don't think it's real.
Well, it's just creepy that like people that we put in charge of everything are like doing some of this stuff without anyone knowing. Like they're completely under wraps. Like it's like, okay, wait, you're doing what to the people, and what as like why do you need to know this? Like it was really crazy to think that some of these topics are just like the brainchild of someone thinking like, how can we fuck people over? Like,
yes,
and the government's like, I'm in.
To them?
Yeah,
like, here's money. Here's
our
money,
government
and we're all like,
is just willing to like,
yeah,
fuck everyone.
Money. Our government, our government, y'all that are listening, Canadian government. Don't think that this is. We'll get into it, but don't think that this is.
It's not just the U.S.
It's not just the U.S. It's not just across the world. It is in our home. So how we're going to get started, guys, is I'm going to start us off here. We're going to start with what originally I was going to start us off with Operation Artichoke, but Operation Artichoke actually started as Operation Bluebird before that. So we're going to go into the history of that. I'm going to read my notes so I don't fuck this up. So in the course of the Cold War, the CIA conducted countless research projects in an effort to crack the code of human consciousness, a veritable Manhattan Project of the mind with costs of psychological research and operations that reached at peak $1 billion a year, according to historian Alfred McCoy. That is some coin.
That's coin.
Some coin. In the period of 1950 to 1962, the mind became the battleground for new weapons for mass persuasion and interrogation techniques. The CIA believed that the Russians had developed mind control techniques and wanted to find out how humans would hold up. The Russians. Yep. How humans would hold up under the whole plethora of interrogation methods to extract information from captured agents and evaluate in how far the agency's own personnel could be penetrated. So essentially, this was like a huge, huge focus of those 12 years with the CIA is like, how can we weaponize the mind in a sense of how can we make people do things and how do we ensure that if someone captures us, like the Russians or whomever, that they're not going to be able to extract information from our agents. That's kind of like the
mind
of
control.
How this all started.
Just like
they loved the 50s and 60s, eh? Like that just seems to be a big year for fucked up shit. Like
I wanted to say, like, I feel like that was like when drugs first started getting introduced to the movies,
playing field,
like this timeline or whatever you want to call it, but there's some
absolutely.
like I said, the fact that people are thinking of let's try and control people's minds. It's like, what are you all?
How do we do this?
Like, why do you want to?
What drugs can we use?
Like control people's minds for what? Like, no one wants to control minds to do good things. Like, it's just
and we're conspiracy theorists, and we have the tin hats. Like, y'all are freaking out here. So in 1949, the CIA created the Office of Scientific Intelligence to coordinate scientific research projects in the field of mind control for the agency, with a special focus on interrogation techniques. Dr. Willard Matchley, its first director, coordinated a special interrogation program for alleged Soviet spies in Germany in 1949. He also explored the feasibility of creating a Manchurian candidate. Go watch the movie, you'll understand this entirely, through behavioral modification. The first CIA project for the application of methods of unconventional interrogation techniques was Project Bluebird from 1949 to 1951. So that was the kind of like beginning of this whole thing that you're going to hear this whole episode from mine all the way down to Hales.
Yeah.
So in spring 1950, several CIA branches were considering the operation use of hypnosis. Head of the operation became Sheffield Edwards, formerly an Army colonel. According to the now declassified intelligence files published by the National Security Archives, Edwards later personally handled joint CIA mafia operations operations resulting in the assassination attempt of Fidel Castro,
Jesus.
aka Trudeau's dad. Just kidding, allegedly.
He's in mine also.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Just wait.
Oh wow, just wait. See, this is what's fun. We all get to learn a little bit.
Yeah.
So under his command, which was deployed to handle agents and defectors. So it was kind of both, right? It wasn't just, people that they captured. It was also their own agents, which really fucked me up a little bit more with all of this, was the amount of shit that they've done internally.
Yeah.
These teams should always compromise of a psychiatrist, a polygraph, an expert hypnotist, and a technician. So there was like a group, and it was like a correlation, and the conditions of these teams would not be deployed without permission from an established committee. We know how the shit works. There was no real reason they could find of why it was called Bluebird, but it was classified top secret. Not a lot of people knew. As always, it was just established as a behavioral control program within the CIA, but there's no real reason of the name Bluebird.
I feel like they're all really weird, obscure names anyways. It's always nothing to do with what you're talking about, but subtle hints.
And after
somehow,
a few...
so that, I guarantee you there's some kind of symbolism with the blue bird or whatever, but...
Yeah, it's got to be some sort of symbolism. Kind of funny, like Twitter.
Yeah.
Mind control, Twitter, I don't know.
Good call.
In April 1950, Ross Killencoder, at the time the director of the CIA, officially approved Bluebird. So, bam, approved.
Wow.
Protect its most secretive activities, unaccountable funds were authorized. The main objectives were discovering means of conditioning personnel to prevent unauthorized extraction of information from them by known means. So, how are they going to pull information from our agents? We're going to research how that happens. Investigating the possibility of control of an individual by application of special interrogation techniques. So can they control an individual by
specific things?
They're very big. Yeah. Memory enhancement, which was they thought they could do shit with shock therapy. Establishing defensive means for preventing hostile control of agency personnel. Amongst the attendants of original Bluebird meeting held in the office, there was a chief scientific intelligence. There's a lot of people that had their hand into this pot. He assured that the office would continue its efforts, gathering all possible data on foreign, particular Russian behavior, science, and mind control.
I feel like again, a lot of these, they really show how deep this all goes, because the amount of specific names and hands that are in it, and it's always colonel, chief, deputy, there's always some kind of very formal title ahead of it, and very supposed to be respected title. And some of these things that they're doing to people is just heinous, and that's who is high up in our society.
Yeah, that's in charge of all this. Cool. This part kind of bothered me more. Shortly afterward, Chadwell's representative was missioned with looking into the Nuremberg Tribunal records to see if they contained anything useful in regards to Bluebird, i.e. information on interrogation methods that were used in Nazi Germany. So they're terrible, but let's research if they had any good interrogation methods.
And then we'll call them conspiracies.
It's just crazy. The weakest form of attacking someone is just mental and breaking them down. Like we saw in the cults. They just to mentally, they want to control you in some form, shape, way, under influence or not. We are just literal pawns.
Puppets. Yep. So, in August 1951, Project Bluebird was renamed to Artichoke. Oh, just like the cults. Rebrand, rename, shake things up. Let's just move on.
Yeah. Remove
so
trace.
Project Artichoke, remove trace, included also in-house experiments on interrogation techniques, including hypnosis, forced morphine addiction, and then subsequent forced withdrawal, and the use of other chemicals, among other methods, to produce amnesia and vulnerable states in subjects. So they essentially wanted people to come in, they wanted to fuck them right up and see if they can just clear their brain, or by controlling them or changing their thoughts and getting them in these extremely vulnerable states by so I'll carry on. At first, agents used coke, marijuana, heroin, peyote, and cocaine, and mescaline. But they increasingly saw LSD as the most promising drug. The subjects,
fear and loathing up in there, like good
it
Jesus.
is like just missing adrenochrome. The subjects
Oh,
who
it's
led
probably
this
in there.
project,
They just don't like to.
it's probably in there.
They don't like to
just
put
didn't
that in
list it
writing.
there. Yeah, they don't put that in writing. So those who were fogged with amnesia resulting in faulty and vague memories of all these experiences. Overseas interrogations were also part of Artichoke, with a combination of sodium pentothal and hypnosis was tested. Note that sodium whatever the fuck, also known as sodium something or other, is a rapid onset, short acting
barbiturate.
I hate this shit. Barbiturate, previously administered as the first of 3 drugs during most lethal injections in the United States.
Wow.
Its usage is ceased only because the U.S. manufacturers stopped manufacturing the drug, and the UE banned the export of the substance in 2011.
Jesus.
So they were giving first shot dose of what they would essentially kill people in the United States
testing
for that. And testing it to see what it does, if it helps with mind control. Isn't that messed up?
The worst part is they probably noticed something during like a bunch of the like lethal injection like deaths, and noticed that like it does something, and they're like, oh, maybe we should test it out this way. Like you had to know that that's how like
zap their brain.
It like came about, because like how the hell.
And did they stop making it, or did they? Was there too much?
They rebranded.
Yeah,
and it's called something
else rebranded.
Now.
They made it more secretive.
Yeah,
they definitely
did.
It. The shitty, the thing that kind of bothered me is that this Project Artichoke wasn't just CIA mind control program. It was also in collaboration with the Army, Navy, Air Force, and FBI. With the primary goal was to determine whether a person could involuntarily be made to perform an attempted assassination. So, like, I'm just gonna stop for a second.
That's pretty interesting, considering
for a second.
Some of our presidents have been assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder, when you think of like, and again, I'm putting my hat on here, this is just me spitting, what about like 9/11 bombers, or let's say school shooters, or I'm not saying that those people are real and those things didn't happen, it 100% happened, don't Alex Jones
Will Smith,
but I'm saying
yeah, but
even
where celebrities come from?
Yes. Where does it come from? Is there a chance that these, and what you'll come to see, these weaker individuals, we've seen it in cults, we see this, we have high intelligence people running this, not saying they are, but is there a chance that some of these people, whether they're terrorists, whether whatever,
were put there for a reason,
put through this, and I just, that's my question. Take my tin hat off. I'm just, it makes me question things more than ever when I see stuff that this actually happened. I just don't want to believe that people would want to do mass murder like that, I think is what it is. So I would like to say that I would hope that someone was taken and done this, and that's why they did what they did, not just because they're terrible fucking people, I think is what it is for me, like.
No, it's really like coming out of like the pandemic and like all the stuff and like theories and everything you read. I think that's just part of the hardest part, is how there's people out there that really like give no shit for human life and do not value it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we're literally, like I said, pawns. We're like lab rats. Like, they just do not care.
We are living experiments.
Yeah,
we
like
have been for too long.
And I agree, because like it sounds terrible, but like some of the stuff that you go through, like going down rabbit holes, it's not far off to assume that they are training and releasing these people. Like when I was talking about Charles Manson, there's theories that he was literally put through the prison system and done everything to him in cooperation with like the authorities. Like he was in and out.
That's what I mean.
Causing shit. Like there's like so many theories, but yeah, like they are creating a problem and then giving a solution on the.
Also sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds a little familiar. They're creating problems and releasing them, and then when they cause issue, we're going to get rid of gun laws.
We're the heroes.
We're gonna come save the day.
We're gonna make a vaccine.
It's just you don't want to believe it, but it's so hard when everything is just in your face, and it just seems kind of obvious that like we're definitely being like duped. Like this is like,
and like this happened back then.
Decades, yeah.
Yes,
like
decades
people don't
ago.
believe they're doing fuck shit now. This happened in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're gonna give it up.
We're only
as
getting
No,
better
absolutely not. It's just
technology,
under the
better,
ground now.
yeah,
you know?
better everything, and you're gonna give it up now? Like, really?
rebranded. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you rebranded. It's
Covered
all,
up
and that's
better.
what this is. Yeah, you covered it up. So Artichoke, which started in 1951, was the forerunner of the infamous MK Ultra project, which began in 1953. So we'll get into that a little bit shortly here. But the project was initiated by CIA Director Walter Bedell Smith and the agency's scientific intelligence director, Mr. Marshall Chadwell. According to the article by Truthout, the code name Artichoke was selected with sardonic humor from this sardonic, I hate English, from the street appendage given to New York City gangster Ciro Terranova, who was referred to the Artichoke King. So this one kind of like had a little bit of a reliance because they were doing stuff with mafia and stuff like this in this area with the CIA and all that. When this all kind of happened, there was a dispute with which department would take over this operation, and it was finally decided that research staff Paul Gaynor would oversee it. So there was a lot of moving around.
I was gonna say it was handed off to a lot of people, and like,
yeah,
I feel like that's pretty typical
this
though.
falls here.
To keep like
this
quality and secrecy of like people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This I copied this because this really bothered me, just the sentences. This was out of Wikipedia. The CIA chose the weaker and less intelligent as its subjects, which they perceived to be homosexuals, racial minorities, and military prisoners. The operation took place in special isolated locations throughout Japan, Europe, Asia, and the Philippines. That was disgusting. I was like, that's great. That was just written in Wikipedia there. I was like, I don't even want to say
casually.
This, that's what it's there. Yeah. So casually, like, that's just...
Like,
I'm surprised it's not edited to make it seem better like they like to do with all their other Wikipedia definitions.
I know.
Wikipedia is so hard to go by because you can edit it. And it
anyone,
yeah. You really can. But where else do you get it from, right? So in addition to the scope of the project that was outlined in a memo dated January 1952, it stated, can we get control of an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature, such as self-preservation? And this is where my questions are, why I asked, like, could one of these bombers have, because what they do is they do this and then they drop them off in their native country without anybody knowing. That person doesn't know, and then that person gets the signal, just like in the Manchurian Candidate, and they hit that sequence, they do what they're told, and then their brain switches off and they don't remember. That was the whole point of this.
See, it
there's
sounds
so
crazy.
many movies on that shit, which makes like you think it's real if there's movies.
But once you like listen to other parts of like what we're going to talk about, it like rings harder once you get more specific. Like,
oh, for sure.
You'll see what I mean.
And that's why I love this. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Not excited,
because like this is kind of like broad and like they're trying to control our minds. Like, okay,
yeah.
But then when like say Danielle,
I got the beef of the burger, babe.
Yeah, like
you do have the beef of the burger.
And like even mine is just like the things that they were trying to do, using everyday people as guinea pigs, is fucking disgusting. Like it is mind-blowing.
And there's hundreds. There's said to be hundreds, and all of the paper. One thing that I found really interesting is that there was an investigation into this, and the documents that were submitted, everything that was submitted was like very retracted, and also found that like nothing was wrong. And then fast forward like 50 years later, they found a shit ton more boxes of this, and they went through it, and they're just like, oh, well, we're still think that it is exact same as before. It's just a little bit more documentation on what they did. But it's super not. There was like hundreds of people that they said that this happened to. To this effect, in 1952, LSD was increasingly given to unknowing CIA agents to determine the drug's effect on unsuspecting people. On record states that an agent was kept on LSD for 77 days straight. Representative from each agency unit involved in Artichoke met almost monthly to discuss their progress, and these discussions included the planning of overseas interrogations as well as further experimentation in the U.S. So it was a monthly catch-up of like, how's everyone doing on all this LSD?
Dude, mine has LSD too, and I feel like that was the peak and the height of like LSD was created very much in a lab. Like there's no way you'd be able to convince me it's not just like meth, just like all the hard drugs. Like if it's not a plant that you can grow in the ground, it's man-made. So I'm just going out there and saying it. Like they've been put in our society to completely wreak havoc, which they have completed successfully. However, the use that they like, the testing that the government did with LSD is really
mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing, but it's just really like an overreach of like, so you're creating things, testing it out, yeah, it does this, so let's release it. And like I feel like that's what this is, like the testing and like doing all this weird stuff with, because LSD is involved in so much, it seems like we've seen it tested on, remember that video of spiders on drugs, like marijuana, coke, whatever, and there's LSD and the spider's just like giving her, making a web, like all crazy. Like I just it sucks to see that they're like I just said, they're creating a problem and then solutions to it. Like watching this and seeing everything that we know is just so obvious that it's been happening for literal, like for like I'd say probably close to like 80 years.
Yeah.
Like,
and who's
probably
to say,
longer,
like, and this is where
in different ways.
This is where I'm like, okay, well, they're just doing the same thing, but the LSD is a fucking TikTok and everyone's just zoned into it. And like, yeah, LSD is definitely
mind control
of all of this.
If you think about it, for yours, if it's just specific mind control, they have the TV, which is programs that we watch, and we are being programmed. Like that's obvious. All of our phones, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of it, music, movies, like everything.
Any industry ever,
everything.
Any industry,
the news,
beauty, all of it.
Everything is tainted. Everything is
tainted.
Everything is mind control. It's just
very into the hypnotist part, even though a lot of it came back as like that wasn't really the medium that they wanted to take, that they found was like
scary
hypnosis. Yeah, but what I thought interesting, so they, in these files that Mom got for us from
shout
the
out
CIA,
Lisa,
because Lisa always coming in clutch here. Guys, this is all out here too. Like
this is like on the website, just
secret
Google
black market. This is a Freedom of Information Act. These stuff has to come out. So the one thing I thought was really interesting, the CIA asking this like 15-year plus hypnotist, do you have any ideas that hypnotists could be used as a weapon? And his response was, yes, I've thought about this often. It could certainly be used in obtaining information from recalcitrant, I don't know what that word is, people, particularly with drugs. Furthermore, it could be used as a moral factor. In addition, it could be used as a recruiting source for special types of work. I will explain the last two. You have a large DP camps in Europe and Asia. You have to entertain these people. A good professional hypnotist is a good entertainer. Using mass hypnotic methods, he could drive home thoughts that could be of great benefit to our side. Individuals that have gained control through our hypnotic influence could be converted to strong supporters for our viewpoint through suggestion. The opposite of this, of course, would hold true. Furthermore, along these lines, a good hypnotist running hypnotic shows for entertainment would pick up a great many subjects, some of whom might be exceptionally good subjects for us. The subjects could easily be tapped and put to our good use. So
the people that are targeted in those groups that are like fall easily to hypnosis are like,
damn. And then it just makes you think of any, whether it be like the really big people in Vegas or like small ones. It's like,
have you guys?
Who? No, I haven't.
No,
I know
I've
people who
I've
have
watched
stuff and like they've done.
I've watched the shows.
Shit,
yeah, I went to the shows in Vegas. I think it's entertaining as fuck because it's funny. It's like a dirty show in Vegas. But no, I don't, because I'm terrified. I actually like pinch myself. I've done the like hypnotist tape at nighttime, like to quit smoking and those kind of things, but nothing like.
I feel like that's why you're sleeping. So I feel like that's a little different. That's just like suggestive thought type stuff where.
Yes, it's like a meditation, like a good.
But
thing.
like full, like someone's hypnotizing you and someone is in control of what you do. That's creepy.
I don't love that at all. And before I pass it over to Dee here, I just want to do one more interesting thing. So one other, I lost the quote, of course, because I was going through this quickly, but essentially they said, I wish I found it, but anyways, actually it's all in here. So they were talking about dengue fever. So of course we're like I'm searching. Unknown to most, and then I found this article out of Florida. Unknown to most Americans is that dengue fever has been the intense focus of U.S. Army and CIA biological warfare research for over 50 years. Ed Regis notes in his excellent history of Fort Derrick, the biology of doom, that as early as 1942, leading biochemists at the installation placed dengue fever on a long list of serious considerations as a possible weapon. In early 1950s, Fort Derrick, in partnership with the CIA, launched a multi-million-dollar research program under which dengue fever and several additional exotic diseases were studied for use in offensive biological warfare attacks. Assumingly because the virus is generally not lethal, program planners viewed it as primarily as incapacitant. Like it's not huge, I'm assuming.
No.
It says incapacitant. Oh, English is bad for me, guys.
No.
Reads, okay, so this is it. Reads one CIA Project Artichoke document. Not all viruses have to be lethal. The objective includes those that act as short-term and long-term incapacitants. So saying like,
so they're looking to like
also
it doesn't have
sounds
to be
familiar.
weaken the population by dengue fever so we're easier to control.
Several CIA documents, as well as finding in 1975 Congressional Committee, reveal that 3 sites in Florida, Key West, Panama City, and Avon Park, as well as 2 other locations in Central Florida, were used for experiments with mosquito-borne dengue fever and other substances.
Mosquitoes are scary. Mosquitoes are like, they can infect so many people. Thinking about that with mosquitoes.
Like I used to be so scared of the West Nile disease.
Oh man.
Which, like, was that even in Canada? I don't know, but my mom made me so scared of it as a kid.
I'm scared of ticks. I don't want ticks.
Yeah.
But,
no, that's
they're so bad now.
Gross,
but mosquitoes, yeah. I mean, like, if they can pull dinosaur DNA
Blood
out of a mosquito's ass, like, I don't doubt it. Hell, they're bringing back freaking all sorts of weird animals. They can totally inject.
Oh yeah.
Skeeters.
There's one other gross part I'm going to leave off on this, 2 parts. So the experiment in Avon Park was about 170 miles from Miami, where covertly conducted in low-income African-American neighborhoods that contain several newly constructed public housing projects. CIA documents related to its top-secret project, MK Naomi, which is after MK Ultra, another sub, clearly indicate that mosquitoes used in Avon Park were, I can't say this, a certain type, specially equipped for aircraft. In one of the larger experiments, released 600,000 mosquitoes over the area. 150,000 mosquitoes were dropped in paper bags designed to open upon impact with the ground. Each bag held 1,000 insects. Beside dengue, some of the mosquitoes were also carrying yellow fever. So the government did this to its own people. I just
took infected mosquitoes and dumped it on the population to see what it did.
But the government's always looking out for us, right? So to finish up, the last post about this before it gets passed over to MK Ultra was a few years beginning in, this is a quote from, I forgot who it's from, but for a few years beginning in 1949, we assessed foreign research on LSD under Project Artichoke because of concern that such drugs might be employed against agencies and other U.S. personnel. Information relative to this work has already been provided to the relevant committees. In this early work, we also occasionally looked at foreign human experimentation. We long ago eliminated our holdings on this subject, and no collection requirements are any longer served. As consumer interest in this area has dropped off and higher priority areas need attention, we have virtually no present coverage, with the possible exception of an occasional scanning of the literature from specific programs. To the best of our knowledge, no other unit in intelligence community is tracking the subject now. So apparently it's dead, but I think it got rebranded, and I'm going to go, Hey, Dee, it's your turn. Pass the buck.
All right. So mine's a little different because there wasn't as many fingers dipped in this pot. There was only 2. So I'm sure they realized how bad it was, that how many people knew about the first couple. So they're like, well, we need to keep this one under wraps. And you'll also hear why, because it gets pretty fucked up. So the CIA Mind Control Project, or MK Ultra, was essentially a continuation of work that began in Japanese and Nazi concentration camps. Nazi doctors had conducted extensive experiments with mescaline at the Dachau concentration camp, and the CIA was very interested in figuring out whether mescaline could be the key to mind control. That was one of their big avenues of investigation anyways. So they hired the Nazi doctors who had been involved in that project to advise and teach them. The CIA wanted to use similar methods on their own captives. The CIA was also interested in being able to manipulate foreign leaders with such techniques that would later invent several schemes to drug Fidel Castro. In 1964, the project was renamed MK Search. The project attempted to produce a perfect truth drug for use in interrogating suspected Soviet spies during the Cold War, and generally to explore any other possibilities of mind control. Because
Truth
most of the
serum.
MK Ultra records were deliberately destroyed in 1972, it is impossible to have a complete understanding of the more than 150 individually funded research projects sponsored
Yeah.
by MK Ultra and related CIA programs, and to also know how many people were actually killed or affected permanently, because there's only a certain amount of like archives that they were able to find.
That
kind of
was
thing.
mine too. Mine was
Of
pretty
course.
hush hush, so mine was
Yeah.
hard to find some stuff on because yeah,
They thought they
Massively
deleted it
redacted.
all, but yeah, they ended up finding
a bunch
whatever,
of it.
wherever. Yeah.
Well, like they found boxes of brandies, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. They must have been in
Joe
like
Biden
Hillary
was hiding them in
Clinton's
his
fucking,
desk.
or Joe Biden's. Yeah, definitely Joe Biden was hiding them for sure.
Yeah.
There's got to be some MK Ultra in there for all the
Yeah.
children he sniffed. They were
Like,
under that for sure.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well,
Fuck.
the U.S. Congress had to do with this, so it makes sense.
Jesus.
I would say that we would assume it's for more than just wars and enemies. It was
Yeah.
first brought to wide public attention by the U.S. Congress in the form of the Church Committee and a presidential commission known as the Rockefeller Commission.
Uh-huh.
So shocker that they're
Yeah.
involved.
It's just like
Rockefellers.
Trudeau hiring someone he knows to investigate like the international like affairs. It's like,
If you've
why
been-
do you keep hiring
If
your
you've been
friends
watching
and
us
family
too
for
and you
this
don't
shit?
know who the Rockefellers are, they're worth a Google.
Yeah.
They're involved in a lot more than
Pretty
you
much,
sticky
yeah.
fingers.
Every conspiracy, pretty much, that you can think of.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was operated from the 1950s until the early 1960s, supposedly. And it was ran by a Sidney Gottlieb, whatever. Some of Gottlieb's experiments were covertly funded at universities and research centers, while others were conducted in American prisons and detention centers in Japan, Germany, and the Philippines. As part of the search for drugs that would allow people to control the human mind, CIA scientists became aware of the existence of LSD, and this became an obsession for the early directors of MK Ultra. Sidney can actually now be seen as the man who brought LSD to America. He was the unwitting godfather of the entire LSD counterculture.
Dude,
in the
that's
early
disgusting.
1950s, I know, he arranged for the CIA to pay, which I'm sure worth way more now, but $240,000 to buy the world's entire supply of LSD. He brought this to the United States. He
From
began spreading
where?
it around. I'm not sure. It just says the whole world supply. So, like, I doubt it was actually the whole world supply. I'm sure there's lots of
for
little,
sure duplicating that.
for sure. But I'm sure there was
At the
like
time,
just
it was
lots of
the entire
labs.
supply.
Yeah, that he knew of or could find, I guess,
Jesus.
So yeah, he brought it all into the US. He began spreading it around to hospitals, clinics, prisons, and other institutions, asking them through bogus foundations to carry out research projects and find out what LSD was, how people reacted to it, and how it might be able to be used as a tool for mind control. Yeah.
So he
Boom.
Sidney Gottlieb is the guy that like.
So there were two
to
apparently people that were involved. One was like a super, super high up like CIA agent, and then there was the Sidney Gottlieb, which I'm sure he had to be high enough up for them two to be the only ones who really knew about it.
Yeah.
So.
That's disgusting.
Wow.
These people are fucked.
Oh, it gets better.
Well, it's funny you said too that they were like using like techniques and methods and building off of what they did in Nazi Germany, because there's another project that I'm pretty sure we're going to get to that involves
paperclip.
Yeah, they were all brought from there,
moved over,
and brought to the States and brought to other countries. And where do you think a lot of our like gruesome, like, I'm not going to say technology, but like our like some of the scarier and grosser things that have happened in the background, like this MK Ultra, is because of that. Like,
or the whole Coke war, like in the 80s in Colombia, that was funded by the US CIA.
Like, how the hell do you?
How are these?
Like, how do you justify keeping people from Nazi Germany time who inflicted, like, Dr. Mengele type people? Like, how do you justify keeping them alive? And
I don't know.
And wanting to learn from them.
Yeah, and wanting to like
and like look up to them. It's fucking creepy.
It's crazy.
I don't love that.
I don't love
I'm
that
not
at
for
all.
that.
Yep, it gets better.
I'm sure
so,
it's okay.
Gottlieb and the CIA established secret detention centers throughout all of Europe, in East Asia, particularly in Japan, Germany, and the Philippines, like mentioned, which were largely under American control in the period of the early 50s. And therefore, Sydney didn't have to worry about any legal entanglements in these specific places, which is why they were in these specific countries.
So it's
I
like
guess at the time.
well, there's all those laws, like extradition laws, and like there's a bunch of countries that like have no laws against pedophilia and stuff, and like people
Yep.
love to
For
go
Tom
there.
Hanks.
So they have really weird laws in a lot of places. So yeah, that doesn't really surprise me, to be honest.
Yep.
No, not at all.
So here gets into the nitty-gritties of all the things they used, because although LSD was a large one, they used many different things to test it out. So CIA officers in Europe and Asia were capturing enemy agents and others who they felt might be suspected persons or were otherwise what they called expendable. They would grab these people and throw them into cells and then test all kinds of not just drug potions, but other techniques like electroshock, radiation, extremes of temperature, cold and hot, sensory isolation, other experiments involving heroin, mescaline, psilocybin, scopolamine, marijuana, alcohol, and sodium pentothal. All the meantime, by bombarding them with questions, trying to see if they could break down resistance and find a way to destroy the human ego. So these were projects designed not only to understand the human mind, but to figure out how to completely destroy it. Gottlieb basically had a license to kill in the end. No reports had to be given to anyone, no one checking in or watching over anything. The project was too important as, quote, mind control equals world power. So it had to be top secret.
It's funny because
I
you
know,
hear
that
all of
paragraph
that,
gives me chills.
and then you think about some of our poor departed sweet Disney stars that have recently been in the news, and like
Mentally
just
departed.
it makes you think like, how is there such a common denominator in just like mentally broken celebrities enter?
And the
MK
repeat
Ultra.
of like the same fucking programming, the same like reset, bringing them
And like
back. And
hearing
like
what she just said, they drug the shit out of you, they berate you with questions, they isolate you, they physically like
they also torture
you,
They torture.
and then that's how they break you. So now I'm thinking like, look at Britney Spears, our like queen of the 90s and 2000s. Like, to think like someone like that was put through that shit so that they could control him, and look, complete snap.
Yep.
And people that think she looks normal now, y'all are insane. You need to open your eyes.
No.
Like every
Same
time
with the
she posts something and
too.
all you see is the comments, like, yes, go queen. It's like,
yes, queen.
Yeah. It's like, so
to me,
somehow
I see
her
someone is
conservatorship,
completely drugged and doing
well, it's like her teeth are even completely
dancing
different.
for the carrot type thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
her
it's
whole
just
face is
ridiculous.
different. Yeah, it's very sad.
So yeah, hearing all this, that's all I can think about is like, like
all the Hollywood,
the actual people that this was like affecting, and like that it's being done to. It's just sucks.
Well, like I've said, it gets even better because now here comes Canada. So it eventually came to Canada. They hired a Dr. Ewan Cameron, so I guess a third person who knew about things, plus certain governments, as we'll see. A man who was known for his theory on correcting madness by erasing the existing memory and rebuilding the psyche completely to perform the more potentially deadly experiments in his lab in Montreal, as it would be non-US citizens, so that makes it more okay.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're weaker as Canadians.
Like, how is that even like a profession? Like, where? Why?
I know.
Back then, I was watching I think I sent those to you guys today. It was like the old school report on it, the 5th edition, like from back or whatever. And it was just, the guy was saying, well, like back then that wasn't an ethical problem, but you wouldn't do that now.
Well, why
was just like, there was like no apology. Yeah, it was like no apology. It was just like, oh, we didn't know that was bad then, that was bad to do to humans.
Oh, so. Using people to experiment on? That's wrong? Oh,
yeah.
My bad.
We didn't know that was wrong. And now we know it's wrong, so that's why we wouldn't do it anymore. I was like, okay,
all right.
Good apology.
Good one.
Typical abuser apology.
Literally.
Kiss in my face and tell
while
me
they're still doing it on in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Dr. Cameron, his main experiments consisted of putting subjects into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time, up to 3 months in one case, while playing tape loops of noise or simple repetitive statements, so trying to literally drive them insane. His experiments were typically carried out on patients who had entered the institute for minor problems such as anxiety disorders and postpartum depression, many of whom suffered permanently from his actions. It was during this era that Cameron became known worldwide as the first. So after his great work, the first president of the American and Canadian Psychiatric Association and the World Psychiatric Association. Cameron had also been a member of the Nuremberg Medical Tribunal only a decade earlier, which I think BU messaged that, the Nuremberg years too.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so this is the worst part. It gets worse. So Canada has never provided a list of the victims of the experiments that took place during Cameron's tenure from 1943, so I guess it was some of the first experiments, until 1964. In the decades since, no government has ever admitted liability, let alone apologized, despite the fact that part of the experiments in Montreal were fully funded not only by the CIA, but also by the Canadian government.
So he was taking postpartum mothers who were suffering from depression and
randoms coming in for anxiety. Yeah, like I don't think they knew. Like they were coming in for actual help and he was just fucking them up.
Those women had children to care for. So that's...
Wow. And there was a guy that I watched on that Fifth Estate too that went in with like a restless leg syndrome, and he ended up getting shot with like LSD concoctions and all this like brainwave therapy, and it was literally for restless legs. And he's like, I completely got fucked up mentally. And this is like you said, in the 50s, like what
1,000 Ways to Die, when he's talking about going to the doctor back in the Wild West, when it's like, oh, my earache, oh, you need a good donkey kicking, or like you need, I need to get a blue jay to peck the glass out of your forehead for like like it's just like, sorry, I came in for restless legs and I'm getting shot up with LSD. Like, where's the disconnect? Because I'm failing to see where that connects.
And what was sad is that the one lady that was survivor on this, she was just saying like they were just really upset because they were convinced that he was there to help them, just like the cult leaders. Like they really thought he was a genius, and he was there to help them, and he's a doctor, and this is like world renowned, like top of the line like procedures. That's what it was sold as, and that makes me sick to my stomach.
The newest thing. Come test out LSD. Your brain.
Like, and
some people did volunteer, but honestly, like within my findings, anyways, not many did volunteer. And like I had mentioned, like it was just provided out to people to test it and get back to them on how it worked.
Sign up.
Nobody knew they were left on drugs for 3 months. Kind of thing.
The list of side effects and potential. You know.
Yeah, this was not informed consent.
This was
100%. And some people. And even they said that the people that went involuntarily weren't aware of what they were doing. It was just that they were going in because they were mentally ill, quote unquote, and trying to get fixed.
Hell, they were probably like, do you have trouble sleeping at night? Come on in and test this new drug.
LSD. Yes.
They had mentioned that pretty much just the prisons, mainly the prisons, were people who were like, I'm in.
Well, it's drugs. At that point,
I'll take some free LSD.
Dude,
get me the fuck out of my reality.
Like they're testing shit out in the prison. Like I get that they're shitty people and they're in prison, but like,
but still, they're people in the end.
They're not to be tested weirdly like that.
Yep.
You would think
not to be used as lab rats.
You would fucking hope.
Yep. So my last little point to wrap it up is the people who didn't die ended with many severe health, mental and physical problems, long-term, or just ended up forgetting pretty much everything, even basics like how to boil water. So they were really, really good at the first part of like fucking up your memory and erasing it, but then they couldn't figure out number 2, so they claimed.
Couldn't get their claws in you to control.
Yeah, they didn't know how to put like new things in there for the actual mind control.
So it left people unable to boil water.
And to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, they just forgot how to go to the bathroom. Yeah, do pretty much everything.
How to be a person.
How to be a person. Yeah, because they brought them all the way back. Some guy said that his memory went all the way back to birthing, like when he was birthed. That's how far back they went, and he just
he starts just crying like a baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god!
In 2023.
Yeah, and then after all of the experiments were caught, ended, etc., allegedly, right? The US government then started to declaring the increase in drugs in the US, drug arrests, drug abuse, etc., and how it needs to be fixed. And it's a huge
Like I
problem. Like,
said.
So they just
Yeah.
spread it out to the masses. So they're like,
The
oh,
war
this is
on
what
drugs
LSD and all these
has-
drugs do. So let's just put it out to everybody and let's just see what the fuck happens now.
Like I said earlier, causing here's the problem and here's the solution.
Here's your solution, and we're gonna tax y'all for all of it.
I can't believe that. Like, that's like, see, what I think is your guys, like, B had the umbrella, D, you've got the hat. I don't know what the
time
hell
for
I
you to
have.
take it home, Hills.
But mine's,
You got the rain boots.
Mine's super specific, like, kind of build off of MK Ultra. So mine was also run by our lovely Dr. Sydney Gottlieb. Mine was from 1954 to 1965, and it is called Project Midnight Crisis. Or, sorry, no, Midnight Climax.
Climax.
So Midnight Climax, I think for mine is actually quite fitting. The name actually does have something to do with what's going on here. Yeah. So I found that really funny and like kind of weird because it's usually like paperclip. What the fuck does that have to do with?
Or
like,
MK Ultra. MK Ultra.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? But anyways,
what does that have to do with anything?
So Dr. Sydney,
good weed strain.
So because of like they were in the height of like the fear of the Cold War, the Soviet Union, China, whatever, he felt compelled to learn about mind control is pretty much how that started, like everything. And it was based off of Midnight Climax is based off the interrogation method portion of Project Artichoke that Brandy was talking about. So he took all of his research methods from that on interrogation specifically and put it into this. So this was the CIA ran safe houses in San Francisco and New York, and they studied the effect of LSD on people that they would have their hired and paid for by the government prostitutes go and get Johns, and they would bring them back to these safe houses, and they would dose them on LSD. I don't know how. I think I saw something about it was they tried to do aerosol, so they would spray something in the air. But the funny thing is there's a whole ass episode about that on CSI. I remember it so vividly, where they were dosing people in a hotel through like the air fresheners in bathrooms with LSD, and then people were doing crazy shit in this one hotel room, and there was always like 911 calls. So like it's not crazy to think, they were like dosing these Johns with LSD. And they were like plied with tons of drugs, and then they were watched through like the two-way mirror type things. And the prostitutes, they were like directed to ask specific questions and like specific ways to see if they can get like certain information out of these people, like any kind of information. I don't know if these people, like these were like just like guinea pig people. So it wasn't like they had done anything wrong, but they were just trying to, like use everything they can to like, it was just crazy. And then sometimes they were fed subliminal messages to like be convinced of like involuntary like crimes, like assaults, robberies, and assassination. Like they wanted to train people to like do fucked
take
up
the
stuff
fall and do fuck
like
things.
go like see if they can get the Johns to go and like rob a grocery store or a convenience store, and like it was fucked. But they were all monitored. Like this was fully monitored, and like they wanted to see the effects. And so they found that drugs can incapacitate entire buildings. So they also started working on poisoning food, which would create confusion, anxiety, and fear in people. So they could like take out like an entire urban building. As well as they would give you headaches and earaches through these, like drugs. So, and they would have an amnesia effects for spies and retiring CIA agents. So they were trying to perfect that. So like once you retired from the CIA, your mind got wiped, total amnesia.
And you can't remember shit.
Which like that.
Fuck is that off of what's that like what's that movie with Will Smith?
Yeah, seriously.
Why can't I think of it? Why can't I think of the name of that movie?
It's like you see it everywhere, but Men
in Black.
I was to say Men in Black. Hell, look at the movie Red with Bruce Willis. He's a retired CIA agent that knows too much. Like it's not far off, right?
No, it's not.
So they also studied, like Dee was talking about, and Brandy, the effects of LSD in isolation. So they would dose people and leave them alone for like months on end with minimal food and water, and like keep an eye on them.
See if they went nuts.
Yeah. So
it's
then
like what the cults did for fun.
Yeah, and then so mine, like I said, went to what, 1965, but in 1974, Seymour Hersh published that story exposing MK Ultra. The U.S. government was spying on the citizens, and then non-consensual like drug experiments that they did on the public, because like that's exactly what Midnight Climax is. They lured in people expecting sex from a hooker and then dosed them with drugs. Like involuntary is like a fucking understatement. Like you're planning on getting your dick sucked.
Then
and
they
you end
also
up
have
getting
that
LSD.
to hold over them if need to.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
So
Blackmail too.
it was crazy,
They
but
went all out.
with mine there was a death associated with it. I saw like
There
this
was
little
one for MK Ultra too.
A lot.
So Frank Olson.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah,
So he jumped out of a hotel window in 1953 after he drank a cocktail that was secretly laced with LSD while on a CIA retreat. So he was a CIA agent that got dosed. And he ended up jumping off a building and killing himself. So the family didn't believe that it was suicide and ordered a second autopsy in 1994. And the autopsy revealed that injuries that would have beforehand happened before the cocktail and that have nothing to do with a fall. So the family sued for wrongful death and was awarded $750,000 and a personal apology from President Ford and the CIA director at the time.
No way.
So getting the settlement, like they were admitting to this guy, they were using LSD, like I'm pretty sure Danielle said, like on their own people, like CIA agents were like taking LSD. They went on a retreat and it was like for fun, but some guy laced his drink and shit went sideways. So
and that's just from typical
53
CIA
to
stuff.
64, if you were in San Francisco or New York and you fucked a hooker and had a really weird time and like don't really know what happened, you probably got dosed with some LSD and were a little government experiment that you have a tape somewhere on file in one of the buildings there.
Crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
You actually read some of these YouTube videos that I've watched, and you go down to the comments, and it's like so many people that are like, yeah, I know someone, because in Canada there was a lot of people that went to this hospital, this mental health hospital, because that was just like at the beginning of like taking care of mental health and looking into it.
I'm still fucked up that he did that to like mothers with your babies and like mothers.
Yes,
so
they
like
came in with postpartum.
Yeah, people are coming in for help.
Those children were then affected because their mother was like 100%. Being dosed with, of all things, like LSD. Is that a joke? LSD is fucked. LSD is crazy.
And it's not even just that. They were like zapping their brains for hours.
Like if she couldn't remember anything, she's not even going to be able to raise obviously a child.
I don't know. Just the lack of like just human compassion.
They don't care.
They like that is what blows me. It's like comparing to like the crime obsession that everyone has with like serial killers. Like there's something very, very wrong with you if you just have zero empathy, sympathy, compassion for,
especially for your own
basic human life. Like give me a break,
like,
man.
I don't get that. I don't understand how that's allowed. This one was I don't know, not necessarily fun, but just very like eye-opening and validating in how yes, there are, like, I'm just so tired of, and I know you guys feel the same. It's like, oh, the government or the CIA or the FBI or all these places are good people. Well, that's because movies and series have all made us believe that they're great people. But this information is public knowledge. This isn't conspiracy theories. This isn't hypothetical. This is pulled from government
and like,
websites.
What do you literally think they're doing now? Like,
and that's what we were saying.
You think it got better or went away? Hell no.
We only like
it just got hidden,
increased in like technology and like scientific discoveries and like things like that, like AI surveillance, like we were saying, like MK Ultra stretches out. Like in my opinion, I was thinking about it when we were talking the other day, B, like I feel like Hollywood in itself is like the world's biggest distraction, and you're not going to have a collective of like, there's thousands of movie stars, singers, artists, whatever. And you're not going to have a collective of people all doing what you want unless you have one of two things: dirty, dirty blackmail or mind control. And if you for a second don't think that like these people, the people that suffer mental breakdowns,
number 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Or NDAs number 4.
The people that suffer mental breakdowns or are raging alcoholics or like are laughed out of Hollywood or like just disappear
went crazy.
there is very good reason why, because they have been mentally pushed to their fucking absolute cracking point. And like Britney Spears is like the biggest example that everyone knows. Like, look at her. Just snapped.
She's not thriving.
She is not, like, I feel like they dosed her so bad that like her brain is just not the same. It doesn't compute. No. She is so like, she looks like a robot. She doesn't even look like, it's not Britney Spears. Like, she just looks,
and like
her
hair, dancing
circles, you think
and everyone's
her
like,
hair's like
yay,
always
and it's like,
just
the thing she does, it's like, you kind of look like a crackhead on the corner.
Yes.
She's like, oh, when I'm getting back into my dance. And I'm like, I could do that.
Like, it's like, what are you doing? And the way her pants, she always hooks her thumbs and she always pulls it down to that weird level of like just barely like showing.
Oh, look it! I got my Playboy bunny stamp from tanning in 2002.
It's just she's always overly sexual. She is always just crackhead, like the epitome of like the crackhead on White Ave that washes your windshields with freaking.
Her comments don't make sense.
Like,
her videos don't make sense.
No. It's just
even her wedding didn't make sense. Like, there's so much that doesn't add up, and you watch them like break out of sequence and like glitch, and you're like,
and that's
okay, again.
Her husband,
like, is that because they're programmed?
her husband's got to be
handler,
like,
for sure.
Yeah,
like she is. It just goes to show, like, they were studying that before a lot. Like, some of our parents were born. A lot of our parents were born.
Or you even think of like Frankenstein.
Yeah, they've been doing this for
like they've been ever experimenting on
like,
people.
The fact that you think they would have just stopped in the 70s and 60s and said, you know what?
No, they got smarter. They found other ways.
It just got better
and
worse.
And too, like, and if you think about, then they say the conspiracies, they poison our water. I don't think they put LSD in our water, but they probably found some sort of compound that's similar. That's maybe not, like you said, you don't need to have. The
Hales was saying all the food and stuff, right? For mind control.
All the food.
That's working.
All the food.
So
all the
I remember
water,
my crazy auntie Camilla, shout out, who started me on this when I was like, I've been hearing this stuff since I've known her since I was 4. Since I was 4. And she she always said they have a button, or they have a something, like a whatever, that when they push it, it can create and emit a frequency that will make you feel physically ill. Like, it hurts your stomach, you get a headache, like you feel nauseous as shit. Like, and that's like, they can walk into like a conference meeting or like a huge like conference room full of people, a huge like any kind of gathering, and push this button, and everyone in that room will fall ill. Like,
well, and that's why they stress about the 5G towers.
Figured like 5G, all of our food that they've put like fluoride, fluoride is not good for you. It's in our water, it's in toothpaste, it's in so much. Like, they have found countless ways to just completely dull us.
Well, and think about all the sheep, or people who are just somehow, doesn't matter, like, they're just gonna never change their minds. Like, they are controlled.
Closed box.
Well, and that's it. Just, and
they want to be.
The last 3 years now, 4, almost 3.5. Like, the last, it just shows, like, how deep rooted it is. Like,
like, they don't need LSD. The shit's working.
Yeah, like, everything. Like, we have just been so broken down that, like, it's like mass psychosis of common, like, that's what everyone's doing. Warfare. So that's what we have to do. No.
Yes.
That's what we've been told we've had to do for the last, like, how long has it been that we've been told that you need to grow up, you need to eat your vegetables because they make you strong, you need to go to school, you need to do good in school, you need to get a job, or you need to go to college, and you need to go to school further and get further in debt, and then you need to get a good job, which we all know is a lie now. You're not getting a high-paying job right out of college. It was a waste of time. And you have to work that job until you're like 20, maybe 25
the amount of debt we're in now, probably forever.
Yeah,
but no one's retiring at this rate.
20 to 25 years to live your life, and somehow as a collective, that seems like a standard of living. Like, that sounds miserable to me. 100%. We have all been told everything from day one, using techniques like this,
mind controlled,
to be like, to be herded. We are the worker bees. We are literally
in school. Think about history books. Fucking throw those in a fire. Like, oh my god.
Everything is just
also, though, like, think about how they're changing the trajectory. I was talking the other day to my chiropractor. We're talking about how kids don't want to be traditional jobs
No.
anymore. They want to be
YouTubers,
Instagram
all online,
influencers and YouTubers
influencers.
and all online. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to do. I
the
mean, heck,
handful
we do all
can
that
make
as
great
well.
money.
But absolutely, but we need to also have
road
goals
pavers
based in reality.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
We need carpenters, and we need nurses,
carpenters,
and we need
dentists and
dentists
nurses
and doctors.
Yes.
Well, and even those ones who, let's say, make a shit ton of money online, however it be, whether it be Instagram, there's lots of different ways now.
Dude, there's children making more money than like all 5 of us.
But that's
put
not going to
together.
last forever.
No,
Then
and
what are
it's a
you going to
trend.
do?
That's the hard part. Like, the internet is the coolest thing ever. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I get
trends.
almost all my information from the internet. I buy stuff on the internet. You can do a lot on the internet, but the internet is such a dangerous thing to have.
Purposefully.
It just
As your foundation.
It provides like such a scary reach, and like, look, like, zoned. Like, we're even doing this on like screen. People are watching us consuming just to see us, and it's like it is all encompassing at this point. So like, you get hit with every angle. It's always on. It's always around. TVs, screens, everything. They have us. This is
always
mind
shaping
control.
what you think.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
they've got us. It is. But at
And
the
you
same
start to
time,
Do you hear us?
And then you
Do you hear us, CIA?
Yeah, you Zuckerberg, you son of a bitch.
But it's like,
listen.
It also comes down to like something that I don't think like we need to start preaching harder is, you can't let that, like, oh my God, we're fucked. Like, it is literally everywhere. You can't let that like completely run your life.
You
like,
gotta still live and play and beat them the best way you can, and that's
computers. Like, we've got TVs. I still watch TV shows.
Take advantage,
but just be conscious that
even
like
just being
the TV
aware.
you watch is for entertainment and like on like
balance.
downtime. Like, read books. I went and bought 2 new books this weekend. I want to start reading more books. Like, get back to like
go outside.
Go outside, do outside chores, just do the basic stuff. And then if you have time and you're like at night, when I wind down after putting her to bed, watch some shitty reality something or
TV.
some crappy
as
whatever.
long as you're just aware.
But be aware that like
not be trapped by it and like your Bible and your gospel.
Yeah, we are definitely all victims. You cannot live a fully non-toxic or whatever you want to call it life, in my opinion. It's just not sustainable.
I preach lots of things, but I mean, I'll crush a bag of chips once a week.
Yeah,
we order Chinese.
Once a week?
I wish I didn't.
Once a day.
And I know I shouldn't, but I do.
Use your head and use your brain to, just be aware that you got to be careful what you consume and what you like give your energy to.
And how you're doing
your energy and your time and your like everything is so much more valuable than
and how things are affecting you. Like, sometimes something it'll make me
your
just annoyed, upset, and I'm like, oh, the fuckers got me. You know?
Got me,
bitch.
Shake it off. I shouldn't be feeling that.
I do want to circle back to the internet. Haley, you mentioned like how it is and how it's always constantly changing. And the biggest trend I see is that these TikTokers and these, let's say, real type content creators is that eventually is going to go away because people are going to get very bored of this 30
or they're going to take away your internet
content.
Or the new trend is going to be no internet or no
internet,
nothing, right?
or longer or long content, long form content, what these kids don't know how to do because they only really know how to do the 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute reels where they're not doing hours long, because I think mainstream media and celebrities and movies are starting to crumble. People are starting to come to things like shows like this with real life people talking about that kind of stuff. And we want more than 30 seconds, 5 minutes, half an hour. We want hour-long content. So I think that's a trend as well that people aren't taking into, and same with internet fame. It's a trend. It's not forever. And I think that
quick gratification,
people in the porn industry can and to attest to this, it's always going more and more. So I think as long for us, we always want to stick to our roots, and we're going to continue doing that, where it's like we're invested in this, but we're not, this doesn't take up our entire lives. Like, we spend time, a couple hours a week researching for you guys. It's fun. We're learning stuff, but we also spend a lot of time doing our own things, and we talk about this and make sure we check in. Like, are we spending time doing our goals? We have a goal list to make sure, are we going outside? Are we prioritizing our stuff? And personally, me, I've been able to cut my social media scrolling in half. It was from over 3 hours now to about an hour and a half, some days a little more, but all because we're just like, this
trying
isn't,
to be conscious
this isn't helping. Yes, this isn't helping me. And like Dee said, when something triggers me, I'm like, fuck, okay, maybe I've done this too much. I'm reading into this. I've got to heal. I need to take a step back, and I'll just peace out of social media for the day. Like, you really have to there's all these things out here, but we have control over that in a sense, right? And it's awareness. So start at awareness. But fuck, man, was this a fun episode?
This was a good one.
It's a good one.
And it was just the first one, guys. We have 3 more of these operation projects being completely research funded by
I like doing it this way. I get to learn like what I'm talking about, but I also get to learn about what you guys have to say. And it's really fun this way.
And I didn't realize how like intertwined all 3 of these were.
Well, and it really makes like we can pack more into the shows. We can get through more of them. But yeah, it's crazy how literally as soon as B was talking, it's like, oh my god, that relates to mine. And then the more you talk,
me too.
Oh my god, that relates to mine. Like,
I know there were so many times I wanted to be like, oh, just wait, I'm gonna get.
As soon as you said Dr. Sydney, I was like, oh, that's my guy. I was like, hey, I know stuff too. Like, I was so trying not to be like spit it out, but
so funny.
I love that. I mean, it might have been on purpose. I mean, trying to get them together, right? There's so many operations and projects, guys.
Some of the other ones don't. Yeah, this one was pretty intertwined, though. So some of them were.
Yeah. So next one, we're going to jump on to Operation Earth and stuff that happens to planet Earth. And we're going to leave it at that.
God, I love Earth.
It's flat Earth one?
It's that's a conspiracy, allegedly. I think we have that on so we'll do that one another time. But yes, we're going to carry on with operations and projects this month, sprinkled in with our Being Reals with, because those are so much fun. We have when this one launches, actually it won't launch yet. We have one coming up with all 4 of us. We're so excited for our first Being with all the babes. Getting a little bit more. I don't think we have really done that yet with all 4 of us is jumping into I'm not going to say we're going to leave it. Yeah, we get to see Kayla back. I think we'll be seeing her a lot more going forward too as well, but we'll leave that.
So.
But yeah, I hope so too. I hope you guys loved the last month of cults. I know we did. Girls loved it. I loved it. It was good to take a break now and to look into government conspiracies. And then the next month, guys, we're jumping into Big Pharma, which is also a huge one for us. But that is a month down the road, so getting ahead of myself. Let's end it for the night, ladies. Thank you so much. What a great episode.
So fun.
Thank you for listening. As always, guys, make sure to support us, follow us, love us, like, comment, da-da-da-da-da, all those fun things I'm supposed to say. Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for stopping by the show today. We truly hope that you had a good time. If you liked this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our channels, like our episodes, and turn on those notification bells. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Until next time, guys.